during the day I do Linux, I do develop code, and I pass most of my time trying to coach company resources on doing their job the best they can. Okay? About the outline of this presentation, we'll be talking about PHP, especially, or I'll try to condense the PHP in the information security scene, and I'll talk about some pain points that normally are presented when dealing with PHP and PHP development. And I'm outlining some resources that you can use about developing secure code and secure development practice. Okay? At OWASP there is an interesting concept that is the builders, the breakers, and the defenders. Okay? There are like 3 different committees inside OWASP that serves different purposes. Okay? The builders normally are the persons responsible for trying to enlarge the security awareness of the development people. Okay? The breakers, normally it's the most sexy part of application security. It's go and break something. It's normal. Okay? And there is a thread going on the OWASP mail list about this. And the question is how to bring developers to application security, since bringing breakers to application security is easy. Okay? And the defenders, these are the other guys, the guys that stands in the middle between the breakers and the builders. Okay? Normally, most of the application security professionals tend to say that they are defenders. Normally they are or builders or breakers. But okay. About me, I sit more or less as a builder. Okay? I have some responsibilities about defending, but I just break things for fun. Okay? And about PHP. PHP, if you should know, it's a programming language. As born as a template engine, like for speeding up doing some home page, and its name, the original was personal home page. Okay, that's why it's called PHP. Nowadays, because Zend has took the language and released Zend Core as a rewritten engine for PHP, then personal home page is not an enterprise term for a language, so it stays as PHP hypertext processor. Okay, it means nothing, but okay. About the language, the PHP language is a little bit, it's not that different from the other language. PHP isn't built with PHP, it's built mostly with C. Okay? But if you go and see Python or Perl or most of the other language, they are all built in the same way. Okay? The language itself has its core functionalities. It's the ifs, the else, and whatever control structures and operations that the language provides. And then there is the official set of libraries. Okay? Adding an extension to PHP normally is as simple as taking a library from your operating system and adding a binding for PHP. Okay? That's one of the reasons that there exists a lot of libraries for PHP that could be executed at native speed because they use directly the libraries from your operating system. And you can do things like controlling your X windows or whatever weird things that you want. Okay? And then you've got the rest, and this is at the library, in the library space, it will be peer. Peer is a way to distribute libraries written in PHP. Okay? Pickle, it's binary, it's the same thing, but only for binary libraries, meaning some code that must be compiled to be executed. And there is a trend nowadays, it's Composer. It's another way to distribute libraries. Works more or less like peer, but they have its advantage on peer. It works like a build system like Maven, if someone knows from Java. Doing a quick poll. How many developers are there? And breakers? Okay, breakers is the rest. Defenders? Okay, so there are only breakers here. And then we've got all sorts of open source libraries that isn't officially packaged, but they works. You just need to drop it on your code, and probably you'll be okay. Okay. Just to give you a quick hint, around Composer, since it's a place where you store your libraries, it's not. It exists now a project that moves into the libraries and detects with or based on the CVA. Marks the libraries as having security problems. So it's a nice feature that didn't exist like 2 years ago. What makes PHP popular? Okay, everyone has its own opinion. For me, the thing I value most, or most people value about PHP, it's the low entry barrier. Okay, I can teach you PHP in like 5 minutes. Okay, it's just open a file, putting 2 lines on the file, and done. Oh, okay, it can be just 1 line. Okay, and afterwards, it's immediately. If you used to do Java or whatever language, probably you do all the things like, okay, I'm programming, then I need to compile, then I need to run to see if thing works or not. Okay, and this instantly reward factor of PHP, it's one of the things that really attracts people towards PHP or Python or other scripting language, where you can see the output. You earn something every time you write a single line of code. Okay? And in fact, PHP really solves the problems it proposed to solve in a quick and effective way. Okay? If you search on the web, there is this definition of PHP by this gentleman. This is officially the father of PHP, and the nice part is about solving the ugly web problem with a admittedly ugly but extremely functional and convenient solution. Okay, it's not there to be pretty, but it does what it does, and it does it really well. Okay. If you recall, PHP has born as a personal on-page language to do some personal on-page, and it's growth since. So, some of the problems that has been introduced and tried to be fixed on this path has been, most of the time the problems were related to PHP should be easy to use. Okay? And because it should be easy to use, there are a lot of problems with the scripts coded in PHP related to some of these easy features. One of these easy features was the register globals, if you recall, or if you know, the thing it does is registering all the parameters that you pass to the script as in the global scope of the script. It's a nice feature if you want to code faster and don't bother with all the security aspects of that. But nowadays, it's something that you can't really do, or you can do it, but the problem will arise sooner than later. Okay? Magic codes was something introduced in PHP because there are a lot of SQL injection. Okay? And the main idea was, okay, a quick fix for this is escape every variable that is passed to the script. Okay? It was a good intention, okay? But nowadays most of the scripts test if magic codes is active, so escape all variables and then let me escape in a safe way. Okay. Safe mode, it's another directory to protect users. Okay? If you are running in safe mode, you can do some sort of thing. Okay? Even you can disable some functions on your PHP installation and disallow users to use eval or other functions that you want. Okay? Another function or another configuration that was introduced to help users is called open-based view. This one, because there is a lot of injection, in this case, normally the reason why this was introduced is because hackers or breakers or interested people being able to include scripts from another part of the server and not the virtual host that the script was running. So you had this directive to allow you to set that you can include scripts, but from this directory only. Okay, and this is the open-based directive. It allows you to set that. Okay, if you need open-based directive, safe mode, magic codes, or register global on your software, don't use it. Okay, but all of that was done by good intention. Okay, after that, some mentions about PHP. PHP isn't secure. Okay, who agrees? No one, right? The question is, someone normally says that PHP isn't secure and you should use whatever language you want, Java, Python, JavaScript, whatever language to do your work. But the fact is, PHP is as insecure as any other language. Okay? I don't really know any language that don't allow people to do mistakes. Okay? And if people do mistakes, normally you end up with a non-functional program. It's not bad. Or a problem with information security. A problem with problems on information security level. Okay? So, normally the other myth is if you don't use just PHP and use some framework, then you'll be okay. Okay? The question is, frameworks are written in PHP, and the same user that didn't know how to code something to be secure with just PHP probably won't be able to code something secure using the framework. So this is not the way to do things. The other one normally tends to do with the enterprise view of PHP. Normally people say that PHP is just for building small sites for your personal home page, remember? And the question is, and some time ago I was talking about this and someone disagreed, but the truth is there is a lot of huge companies that runs huge websites that are built on top of PHP. Okay? One of these sites is Facebook, and the question with Facebook is, after adding a lot of servers, they want more performance for each server, so they do run a different version of PHP. They compile not only their JavaScript, but also their PHP scripts to be more efficient. Okay? Just a quick definition of information security to be on the same page. Okay? And when we say that we have a problem regarding information security, we are saying that by any means someone have accessed some data that shouldn't be allowed to, or modified, or in some way have done something that shouldn't occur. Okay? Normally, when something like that occurs, they go to the development team and say, okay, we need to improve our software in terms of security. So there is a list of known security or most usual security faults, okay, like the OWASP or SANS top 25, okay, that are lists of known or usual security flaws, and are generic for all language. And normally they are able to secure your language, whatever language it is, and then they throw some code reviews, some pen testing, yada yada yada, to the thing. Okay? For me, this approach has a single problem or a single fault, but the most important. This won't teach no one to do secure code. If you go and see, for instance, OWASP.10, and I've updated the latest version, okay? The top one is injection, okay? And it's not only SQL injection, it's whatever injection, XML, LDAP, comment, file, wherever, okay? And it's almost like the buffer overflow problem we see. Especially on web apps, injection is, for me, the biggest problem. And there are a lot of places where we can end up with an injection that it's our protect all the application. Okay? And after seeing that, what's the biggest problem with PHP in terms of application security? The problem is the language is extremely flexible. If you are going to code some web application for Java or for .NET, you are constrained by the framework. Okay? I think no one does just Java for an application. Normally they use a framework that supplies some MVC model or whatever, and just that it's constraining your approach to software development. Okay? That isn't true with PHP. Most of the applications that were developed since 94, if I recall well, when PHP was created, was like a single-page application. Okay? You don't need a framework for doing a simple form that stores the contacts on your database. Okay? You don't need, you can do it, but you don't need a full MVC model for doing that with PHP. But if you want to do the same thing in Java, normally you will have an MVC model for doing that. Okay? So the question is, if I can do things like I want, and be simple to solve that ugly problem, the question is that flexibility also brings a lot of danger to the developer and to the applications. Okay. Also, PHP was one, if not the most used language for doing that the websites that everyone has. Okay. And most of the time that was grown with the shared hosting kind of company, where you bought like an FTP access to the server, and you've got like 3 other or 30 or 40 other accounts on the same server, and you have to put all your code on the webhooks. Okay, that's not a good scripting practice, but in fact, most of the PHP programmers have learned to program PHP in that kind of environments. So it's hard to break. It's something that it's hard to break, and even today, a big chunk of the web applications well known, like for instance Drupal, will work completely from the webhooks. So every file, if you don't configure your web server in a proper way, will be accessible from the internet. Okay. Going back to register variables, this is the most classic example of PHP script with problems. Okay. Nowadays, this is very hard to do. You have to go and get an older version of PHP, but it's still possible. And what happens is every parameter that you pass on on your call to the web server, it's transformed as a variable on the double scope. So you can have some form of authentication that allows you to access some code only if a given function or a given condition is met. And if you inject variables on the global scope, you can bypass all the authentication. Because of that was a problem, they figured out that, okay, instead of register all variables on the global scope, we'll have a variable called request where we are going to register all variables. Okay? And what most of the people have done is switch from having global variables to having a header on the file where you assign all variables that you eventually need based on the request. Okay? That was the quick path for migrating scripts from registered globals to don't use registered globals. Okay? Nevertheless, there was an improvement on security because you need to explicitly set the global variables that you really want, and that way you aren't so prone to global variable injection. Okay? The question is the request variable and the way that PHP processes input will stores the get, then the post, then the cookie, and then the sessions keys, all in this variable. Okay? So you can override variable values by setting the same values on different payloads. Okay? You can, for instance, override a post, a variable that comes on a post, because you send the same variable on the cookie. And that can lead to some strange behaviors. And also, it's recommended to use directly get and post because of that, for targeting exactly if you want a get or a post variable. Okay? The other thing that really makes the PHP developers in trouble is the fact that the language is It's case sensitive, but it's type insensitive. Okay? Case sensitive, this is because on the PHP page it puts the both side by side, but they have nothing to do one thing with the other. The first one, normally there is no problem. The second one, it's a big problem since you don't have strong typing. Your variable will behave in a different way depending on what you are doing with the variable. If you are, for instance, doing a math operation, that variable will be an integer or a float. If you are trying to glue strings together, then the variable will be a string. So you can do these kind of things and bypass some verifications, and even then insert your SQL on this SQL query. But you can force it. Okay? There are ways in PHP to tell that some variable will be an integer, a string, or whatever. Okay? You can do it just locally using typecast, or you can do it permanently on the variable by doing set type. Okay? So the fact that the variables are type insensitive, it's not an excuse for doing bad programming. Another thing that's often caught programmers off guard is the fact that most of the operations are done by C libraries. So you can inject a string like that with /0 on the end, for instance, and for the PHP interpreter, it's just a normal string with red dark chars. But for the library underneath, for instance, the C library that opens files, that is an end of string, so you can get problems for things like this. And after all, PHP now, or since version 5, use strings as a file handler, as a middleware on handling a file request to really open the file. And strings has the capability of doing all sorts of things like open an FTP connection, an HTTP connection, a zip file, whatever. So if you do include something that don't need really to be the file of your file system, you can include anything that the strings wrapper can open. Okay? Most of the bugs that Juma had on the past was related to this vulnerability. Okay? Someone was like including a theme, okay, like red, green, or whatever, and because someone passes URL as a parameter, you end up including files from another server. Okay? You can explicitly disable these, okay, by using firewalls at server level, and or for instance, in CentOS normally they bring the SLIs active and don't allow you to do requests to remote hosts. But at PHP level, you can disable allow when you have open, and this will disable the strings to include remote files. Another of the problems that lands on top 10, on OWASP top 10, relates to information disclosure. Okay? And some years ago, PHP programmers tend to, because including PHP isn't obvious enough, to do something like file.inc. Okay? That wasn't a PHP script, was an include script. That in fact is a PHP script. Okay? And because your web server interprets everything that isn't a known extension as a text or a binary file. You can do a direct request to that file and get the file. Okay? Normally, what happens is someone does emergency live coding on a public server, and because of fear of doing something wrong with the file, does a backup of the file, and at the end, if you do a crawl with the name of the configuration file for that framework or that wherever application, and you add .back, there are a lot of places where you see the database configuration, the passwords for whatever components of the application. And in fact, this is a problem with security, and security mostly on PHP sites, because all site runs from the webhook. Okay. The other thing that normally it's said about PHP is that the MySQL extension of PHP is vulnerable. Okay? And normally, whenever you see an example of SQL injection doing or in PHP, you will see someone using the MySQL extension, and at the end, normally they state that you should use PDO or MySQL improved. There are two different MySQL extensions for PHP. The fact is that you do whatever you want with any of the extensions. So if you are doing string concatenation and then send it to the driver, either of the drivers will allow you to do SQL injection in that way. Okay? What they want to say is you should use prepared statements, okay, to avoid SQL injection. But no one says that when presenting a security talk and saying that the MySQL extension it's weak. The last thing that normally adds as a problem for PHP programmers, it's the way that PHP handles session, right? Because it should be easy. The persons who created PHP added a functionality called session auto start. Okay? So normally, when you open a browser and you go to a site, a website powered by PHP, you already have a session. Okay, and it's that easy. You don't need to do a lot to have a session on your website. Okay, and that's okay. The problem is when someone does a login on that website and there's a lot of things, I can force the session ID before, and then I can know what is the session ID of the user. Okay, this is called normally session hijack. And the question, or the reason it works is because who is programming doesn't do the last comment. You should regenerate the session ID before getting the user in. So if they do that, the old session ID will represent an anonymous user session, and the new session ID that could or should be known by the attacker will be the session that really gains entrance to the website to the user. Okay. At the end, most of these are related to bad programming practice. And from my side of the question, since mostly I'm a builder, I must say that most of the breakers don't really get the problem with doing secure code. Okay? For them, normally, it's easy to do secure code. But for most of the programmers, the main thing and the main intention is focus is really on functionality, not on security or not even in performance. Okay? And if your job is selling some programming that you should do better and more secure code, then you should try to get its attention in another way, because just telling that this code doesn't work won't make it through. Okay? So regarding PHP, we've got all the information about the language of the PHP website. And regarding security practice, okay, you can check all the resources that are available on the WASP website. And in fact, there is a tool that is used for breakers and should be used for defenders. It's called ZAP, Zen Attack Proxy. It's a wonderful tool that allows you to inspect what's going on your request to the web server. Okay? It's free, and there are some paid tools that allows you to do the same. It's very easy to use, and it's far more effective if you use it to show someone that there is a problem on their website. Okay? I don't know if someone has questions about this.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
Regarding the protection of the code, PHP is not compiled, as you said, but there is some potential problem in protecting that code. If we are just selling a solution and we put that files on the server, what suggestions do you have in order to protect that?
There are 2 or 3 vendors that sells code obfuscation for PHP, and not only that's the way that you now protect PHP code. Even on the most secure solutions, it's possible to reverse engineer all the code that it's executed, because at least if you do have access to the server, you can intercept calls at the engine level, okay? And you can byte reverse from byte all the codes at middle level, because you need to, in some way, to get back some PHP or almost PHP code for the interpreter to be able to interpret the code. Okay? There are some solutions, one from Zen, for instance, that you can use, and you can compile your code, and that needs, then you need to add a library to your web server to be able to open the code and interpret the code. There used to exist one open source solution for that, but at least the last time I saw, it was outdated. Okay? And there is another commercial vendor that has the same solution. It's just a question of price. Okay? And if you want to do your own solution, you can use the same techniques that you use for JavaScript. Not really the same because of the language capabilities. But at the end, if you do the same question about C or Java or wherever, you have the same problems. For instance, for Android, you do code obfuscation, and then you have like a code list of the obfuscated code, because when something breaks on the mobile device, you can go back and say, okay, it was on line 300 from the original code. So if it's possible to reverse it in some way, it's always possible to reverse it in some way. The question is if it's cheaper or not to reverse the code. And someone told that if your application costs $10 and you are developing like $100 encryption solution for your code, you are doing something wrong. Someone else?
No? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's make a short break, 5 minutes, okay?